Thanks very much, Nicholas, and ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. I've got 15 minutes, so not a lot of time, and I'll move through this pretty quickly, but obviously come to our booth and we can talk in more detail. So, Sunstone Metals, we're all about copper and gold. There's a standard disclaimer here. I will be making some forward-looking statements. We're an exploration company. We're extremely bullish about what's ahead of us, and hopefully I'll impart some of that bullishness to you in the presentation today. So as I said, we're talking about copper and gold. I'm speaking to a lot of investors lately. The questions they ask me are, when are you going to get your drill permit for Bramaderos? Why are you so bullish about it? And what's happening in northern Sweden with Viscaria now that we're comfortably above $3 a pound copper. So that's what I'll address. We won't talk about activities in Finland in this presentation. So as we put together a funding package late last year, a number of the Australian resource investment funds that spoke to us took a very simple view of an investment in Sunstone. They said the downside is very well protected by our feasibility study project at Viscaria in northern Sweden, and the upside is phenomenal, based primarily on our Bramaderos gold-copper project in Ecuador. We're the only ASX junior with direct exposure to Ecuador. Ecuador is absolutely booming, and I'll give you a flavour for that in a minute. So just briefly at corporate level, market cap today is a little bit over $40 million. We've got a bit under $4 million in the bank, so we're fully funded to go through with our proposed drilling at Bramaderos. And probably one of the most important things is over the last 4 years that we've put the board and management team into Sunstone, we've all participated in placements during that time. So we have lots of skin in the game. We've put our own after-tax dollars into purchasing shares in Sunstone. Our major shareholders, at this stage, it's a number of high net worth individuals out of Europe and the UK, and then we have a number of Australian resource funds on the register that are sitting at less than a substantial shareholder level. So it's all about the people, and I guess you learn that after being 30 years in the industry. At Sunstone we have an incredible team. We have a very strong board. Our board is covering all aspects, mining engineering, exploration, finance. But the management team, myself and Ray Robinson are here today at the booth. A great team that's been involved in a number of very large discoveries and some major feasibility studies. And we've worked for some of the majors, as was indicated, Western Mining, Panost. We've been involved in small projects and large. So we're certainly capable of growing Sunstone to the extent that we think is possible over the next 1 or 2 years. So as I said, it's all about the people. So this team has previously been involved with Intrepid Mines, previously been involved with SolGold. And for some of you, I think you were shareholders in those companies. Intrepid Mines is a good example. We took that company through discovery of a major porphyry copper deposit in Indonesia from a 40 million market cap through to just over $1 billion in just under 2 years. Sunstone today is sitting at about a 40 million market cap. We firmly believe we're on the cusp of delivering a major discovery in Ecuador, so who knows where our market cap will go. SolGold, similarly, we're involved in tidying up that company and putting a new project into it, and we took SolGold into Ecuador, and the consequence of that was the major discovery that many of you are familiar with at Cascabel. So again, a major growth in market capitalisation. So we think we've got all the ingredients now at Sunstone to deliver those and to protect against downside. We understand security of tenure. We understand getting the right joint venture partner, and we understand how to put together a good capital structure to fund this. So going back to those questions that I'm getting asked every day, when are you going to get your drill permit and why are you so bullish? So the drill permit process, you need to understand Ecuador. You need to understand Ecuador at the macro level and at the local level. So at the macro level, Ecuador historically has been very much dependent upon income from oil. That's fallen away. They want some other industry to replace that. The only industry that can deliver them the sort of growth that they need is the mining industry. So they are very pro-mining. We had a change of president early last year, and Rafael Correa was succeeded by Lenin Moreno. We've had continuity of policy with regards to mining, and they are very, very supportive. They put in place modern mining legislation, but that is still being bedded down. So a consequence of building this, please come to Ecuador and invest in mining, is that everyone comes. And so the majors are there, BHP are there, Anglo American are there, Newcrest, as many of you know, have a very significant exposure to Ecuador through Sol Gold and through Lundin Gold. So they've all come, and unfortunately the government systems and the government bureaucracies can't quite cope with this massive influx of companies that want to get on with spending money and advancing their projects. So the delay in our drilling permit is a direct consequence of that. The Department of Environment is inadequately equipped to cope with all the work in front of them. Fortunately, we're aware that we're in the top handful of companies being reviewed, and we're expecting our drilling permit very, very soon. At the local level, Brahmaderos, our community work is being led by our joint venture partner, Cornerstone Capital. They've been in Ecuador for 10 years. They're a fully Ecuadorian team apart from their country manager. He's been working in South America for the last 30 years. So they handle all the local interaction, and I would argue that no one does it better than them. So while the government is trying to cope with this influx of companies, we're getting, for example, we had 50 letters recently signed by locals saying, please issue this drilling permit. We want Sunstone and Cornerstone to come in and spend money and get going with the drilling. So we're getting the support of locals. The area relative to many other parts of Ecuador is actually quite arid. We're now at the end of the wet season, and they had very little rain. So agriculture is poor. These people want to work, and we're currently employing 20 or so people, but obviously that'll go up significantly with exploration success. So we're getting the support of locals. That's going into the government. The government is trying to enhance their systems to process permitting, and for those reasons we're pretty bullish that we're close to getting our drill permit. So there we are. The project is in the south of the country. It's in amongst a whole lot of other projects, a couple of new mines, Rio Blanco and Core Gold's mine down at, in the south, just to the southwest of us. So they're actually operating. Lundin Gold is building the country's largest gold mine out to the east of us, Fruta del Norte. That's a 5 million ounce reserve deposit. So there's a lot of activity in the south. And as I said, much less tropical than the north, much easier. You'll see in a minute how good access is to our project site. So the risks are very low. I've mentioned Cornerstone Capital, our joint venture partner. We did the deal with them when we were involved at Sol Gold. We've known the people at Cornerstone for 20 years. Very, very well qualified to implement the work under our direction within Ecuador. So this is what the project looks like. So our target areas are in the foreground. Those mountains in the background are outside of our concession and not considered prospective. You can see here that Brahmaderos Main, I'll talk about that prospect in a minute. That's right in the foreground there. We're at about 900 metres above sea level, so very easy to get around. Porotillo, another target to the south, so that gives you an idea of sort of the 4 or 5 kilometre distance extending over the concession. Importantly, this is the Pan American Highway. So this is the bitumen road that runs the full length of South America, goes straight through the concession. So for us to get a drill rig onto site is very, very easy. And then Limon target, which is an outstanding gold copper target, is located just off this picture to the north. The photo was taken from West Zone, which is an epithermal gold target that we'll be drill testing as well. So the concession, the warm colours are where we've got more gold than the darker colours and the lighter colours. So you can see there's a cluster of targets. We're not just talking about a single target here. Brahmaderos Main is in the centre. there. West Zone is to the northwest and Le Mans is to the north. They're the three I'll be talking about primarily today. This is detailed aeromagnetics, so we've flown that, we've put all this together and we've defined a series of very, very good targets. Brahmaderos Main has been drilled historically and that drilling intersected ore grade intercepts. So let's talk about it. A couple of weeks ago we released an announcement from a surface trench, 600 metres at just over 0.5 gram gold and just over 0.1% copper. Now, if you then take the zones of that exclude anything less than 0.3 of a gram and are narrower than 10 metres, then you come up with a 400 metre intercept that's running 0.7 or thereabouts gold, 0.14 copper. Now, to put that into context, the Cadia development in New South Wales, operated by Newcrest, that was developed on a resource of about 350 million tonnes at those grades. So that gives you an idea that at those grades, at the appropriate tonnage, are definitely economic. Importantly, this is an outcropping system. This will be an open pit. This is not deep underground. So a lot going for it. So we just have to build tonnage here. Fortunately for us, there was a historical program of exploration and they drilled some holes into the system, into the target that we've defined subsequently as well, and they intersected similar grade intervals and they only went to 250 metres down hole, and the best grades were right at the end of the hole. So we'll be drilling deeper, obviously, and near this in our first phase of drilling once we get the permit. The detailed helimagnetics that I talked about before, we've done some 3D modelling on this. This is a pretty standard technique, but it's certainly helped us during our previous discovery phases with Intrepid and SolGold. So what this shows us is that we've got a system that's magnetic. We know the system at surface that hosts the gold and copper is magnetic, and we're seeing something that's at least 1 kilometre in vertical extent. So once we get drilling, that'll be our target scale. If we have a look at the geology, the magnetics fit perfectly with the geology. It all fits together, and that gives us great confidence as we build each data set that our risk of drilling is low. So while our drilling permit has been delayed, the risk to drilling, the technical risk to drilling, has been lessened as we've been doing this work in the interim. So just a bit more on that 3D modelling of magnetics. So this is the southern part of the concession. You can see Brahmaderos Main, that's what we've modelled with the 1 kilometre vertical extent. We extended it down to look at this area which has been drilled previously, and we thought that it wasn't a very highly rated target, but our 3D modelling has shown that that previous drilling was just on the edge of the target and they essentially missed. So if we then look at 3D model, Brahmaderos Main, this is where we're going to be drilling. West Zone, that's where we'll be drilling. This one is a huge target, 1.7 kilometre vertical extent with gold at surface, and all they've tested is on the edge. So again, very bullish about this one. If we move over quickly to West Zone, you see it in the background there. That's slightly different, a bit smaller, a bit higher grade, but nothing wrong with these grades. 9 metres at 6 grams at surface. Again, everything is outcropping. We're at surface. We're getting grades of 16 at 6 grams, so this will be part of our first pass drilling. And this may present an early development opportunity. Smaller, higher grade. We'll move this obviously through scoping study as quickly as we can. I'm running short of time. Brahmaderos, this is actually the best target in my opinion on the project, and we've released an ASX announcement today that expands our trench sampling from this area, from originally defined as 35 metres, we're now looking at 100 metres of ore grade material at surface in a window of porphyry mineralisation that has a strike extent we expect of about 1.6 kilometres. Phenomenal target, right up there with some of the best we've looked at over the past few years. That's what it looks like, very easy to operate, very easy to get around. Now I'm going to blast quickly through Viscaria copper because this is an important part of the Sunstone story. It protects our downside valuation. We're at a feasibility study stage project for copper, as copper is comfortably above $3 a pound, and I think just about everyone you speak to in the industry sees it going significantly higher. Very good quality project, arguably one of the best areas to be developing a copper project in the world at the moment. People say to me, what's the weather like? We're 120 kilometres north of the Arctic Circle, but this is a mining district. 100 kilometres down the road is Europe's largest open pit copper mine. They're mining copper at 0.25% and about 0.2 grams of gold, very low grade. They mine 24/7 every day of the year. Right next to us at Kiruna is the world's largest underground magnetite mine. So the town is there for mining. It's the Mount Isa equivalent of Sweden with the opposite weather conditions. But weather does not inhibit development. So we're taking this through a feasibility study. This shows you the ore deposits in orange. One has been mined before, so we'll develop that as an open pit. And then the one on the west has not been mined. That's the highest grade, and that'll be our underground development. We're right on the edge of town. We have mining leases. We need to now go through a process of getting our environmental permit. The D-zone deposit, this is the bottom of the resource. All holes drilled outside of that resource are greater than 2% copper. So we're getting higher grade and thicker as we go deeper, exactly what you want with an underground mine development. And then significant exploration upside. We've got a strike extent of about 6 kilometres of VMS targets. So this will go through to development. We're currently talking with a number of parties about how we might fund that. It'll be done in partnership. It won't be done by us alone. It won't be through funding at the Sunstone level. We'll be getting a partner in to do that. In terms of Ecuador, we will be getting our drill permit. We're very confident we'll be getting it very soon. We'll be drilling these phenomenal porphyry targets, and I remind you to go back and have a look at what happened at Intrepid, what happened at SolGold when similar discoveries were delivered. Very, very significant upside growth potential. Thank you very much.